One word in the book of Genesis was particularly intriguing to a preacher who had studied and taught from the text for over 30 years. The word Elohim is a plural form, exhibiting plural behaviors and often translated as God, false gods, demons, angels, or land barons. The elasticity in meaning suggests that it may have referred to the powerful ones rather than gods. This interpretation aligns with the Sumerian tablets and the notion of the Anunnaki as the sky people. Join us as we delve into the story of Nathaniel Schmidt, an esteemed scholar of Semitic languages in the late 19th century. For over decades, Schmidt had shared his extensive knowledge of ancient languages such as Hebrew, Aramaic, Coptic, Arabic, and Syriac with his students at Colgate University. His expertise in the field was second to none, and he was considered one of America's leading scholars. However, in 1896, Schmidt's tenure was abruptly terminated, leaving many to wonder why a scholar of such high caliber would be fired. As it turns out, Schmidt's recent theological papers had caused quite a stir among the authorities. They claimed that his work struck at the very roots of two world religions, Christianity and Judaism. What was the cause of this controversy? It all came down to the fact that Schmidt had been reading the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian texts and noticed something peculiar. The stories contained within them were eerily similar to those found in the Bible, including tales such as Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, the flood, and the Tower of Babel. Schmidt's research suggests that these ancient texts were likely the source of these familiar biblical stories. This was a problem for the authorities at the time, as the church was still grappling with the after effects of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. They were busy trying to develop new doctrines of biblical inerrancy to bolster their faith, so the idea of the Bible might actually be based on someone else's stories was a bit of an embarrassment. It's important to note, however, that the stories found in the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian texts actually have their roots in the same family as Judaism and Christianity, the family of Abraham and Sarah. These two figures grew up in Ur of the Chaldees, which was a Sumerian culture. It's not surprising, then, that they would carry with them the stories of their upbringing and incorporate them into their new culture, religion, and Bible. The shock, however, was that the original versions of these stories in the Sumerian texts make no mention of God at all. Instead, they describe our ancestors' interactions with a species called the Anunnaki. Could it be possible that the familiar stories of God in Judaism and Christianity are actually a retelling of our ancestors' close encounters with the extraterrestrials? The cuneiform tablets that so fascinated Nathaniel Schmidt were first discovered in the 1500s, as colonial powers began to excavate the ancient sites of Mesopotamia. Over time, some 200,000 clay tablets were uncovered, shedding new light on the ancient culture of the region. But the story of these mysterious tablets doesn't end here. The unlocking of the Behistum inscription proved to be the key that cuneiform tablets had been waiting for. With the memories of Mesopotamia's ancient culture suddenly an open book, the glyphs were revealed to be so much more than mere decoration. In fact, they were bank records, business agreements, shopping lists, contracts, recipes, inventories, royal histories, and the most ancient narrative in the history of the world. It was through these ancient narratives that the source of the Bible's familiar stories began to emerge, shedding new light on the history of our civilization. Nathaniel Schmidt was one of the few scholars who began to confront us with this new layer of our history. His work helped to shed light on the mysteries of these tablets and brought new understanding to the ancient cultures that create them. And as for Schmidt himself, although he was fired from his position at Colgate University, he was able to land on his feet and secure a new job at Cornell University. There, he served as a professor of Semitic languages for a full 36 years, leaving a lasting impact on the academic world. Schmidt's groundbreaking work in the field of Semitic languages continued to push the boundaries of our understanding and the ancient world. He argued that the cuneiform tablets revealed that our earliest histories were not necessarily about God, but rather about our prehistoric contact with a mysterious species known as the Anunnaki. Through his research, Schmidt uncovered evidence that the stories of our ancestors' encounters with these extraterrestrial beings were woven into the fabric of our civilization. These tales, which have been passed down through generations in Mesopotamia, had been retold retold and reinterpreted over the centuries, eventually finding their way into the Bible and other religious texts. Schmidt's work challenged traditional beliefs about the origins of our civilization and offered new insights into the mysteries of our ancient past. Although his ideas were controversial at the time, they have been since become widely accepted by scholars and historians alike, helping to shape our understanding of the world in which we live. Continuing the story of the cuneiform tablets, in the 20th century, Zecharia Sitchin became fascinated with the ancient texts. His interpretation of the Sumerian stories suggested that the Anunnaki and an extraterrestrial species were powerful and advanced beings. They arrived on Earth and used their genetic code to create a hybrid of a primate ancestor which would become the human race. The word Anunnaki means those who came from the heavens to Earth, and Sitchin argued that this phrase revealed their extraterrestrial origin. Despite not being an academic or holding a PhD, Sitchin's work made an important contribution to the field. However, some writers in the field disagree with his interpretation of the word Anunnaki, arguing that it simply meant nobility or rulers. This partial explanation did not satisfy those who examined the etymology of the word and the components parts, Anu meaning heavens and Ki meaning earth. The stories themselves, when read from the cuneiform tablets, further unpack the narrative that the Anunnaki were sky people who ruled over human beings. The Sumerian king list, another ancient tablet, appeared to be a dry record of the succession of kings of Sumeria, but upon closer inspection, there were some oddities. The most recent entries recorded reigns of 6 to 36 years, but as the timeline went further back, the list revealed a dynasty that lasted 24,510 years, shared by only 23 kings, and a dynasty that lasted 241,000 years, shared by only 8 kings. This elasticity of length of dynasty suggests that non-human kings were quite different from human beings. The narrative began with non-human kings who handed over power to human kings, much like the mythologies of our cultures, such as Egyptian and biblical mythology. The non-human kings were said to be like comparing the lifespan of a human being with that of an ant. Continuing the exploration of evidence for an extraterrestrial presence on Earth, there are additional accounts that support this hypothesis. For example, the Sumerian versions of Tower of Babel describes 50 technicians using mysterious technology to send 300 observers to their stations in the stars. When compared to the Genesis account, these narratives confirm one another and suggest that the Tower of Babel may have been a stargate, providing the observers with rapid access to space stations. One word in the book of Genesis was particularly intriguing to a preacher who had studied and taught from the text for over 30 years. The word Elohim is a plural form, exhibiting plural behaviors and often translated as God, false gods, demons, angels, or land barons. The elasticity in meaning suggests that it may have referred to the powerful ones rather than gods. This interpretation aligns with the Sumerian tablets and the notion of the Anunnaki as the sky people. As for physical evidence of an Anunnaki presence on Earth, it may be possible to identify DNA evidence. If Gilgamesh was indeed a human Anunnaki hybrid, DNA testing on his royal tomb could provide proof of the extraterrestrial hypothesis. While no physical remains have been found yet, continued archaeological discoveries revealed the diversity of ancient people and raised the possibility that Anunnaki remains may one day be uncovered. The idea of an extraterrestrial presence influencing human evolution and progress is not a new one, but the possibility that they may have been colonized our planet and ruled over us is a fascinating one. The discovery of Gilgamesh tomb in Iraq during the 2003 invasion has added fuel to this theory, and the subsequent decision not to investigate the site any further has only added to the mystery. Similarly, the discovery of Queen Puabi, a high-ranking Sumerian leader who lived around 2500 BCE, and the availability of modern DNA testing technology have raised questions about the possibility of Sumerian reality being of non-human origin. Despite the potential for answers, the decision not to investigate further leaves us with more questions than answers. But why would an extraterrestrial species be interested in governing a human population on planet Earth? Why would they teach prehistoric humans about advanced concepts such as mathematics, legal system, and banking? And why would they then withdraw? One possibility is that their colonization of our planet was analogous to the way we colonized our countries. We show our superiority, take over, and provide the infrastructure needed to keep control. We let the locals take over certain roles, such as policing and school teaching, while maintaining control of the value of money and commodities prices. Once we've established our economic dominance, we can redraw and still enjoy the benefits of sitting on top of the economic tree. If this theory holds true, it's possible that the extraterrestrial species that colonized our planet did so for its mineral resources, as evidenced by prehistoric mines in southern Africa. However, it's also possible that they were interested in something else, perhaps the unique properties of our planet or even our own species, Homo sapiens. One of the most intriguing questions is whether our ancestors were engineered to toil as workers for the colonizer or the colonizers. Were the Anunnaki only interested in our planet's resources, or they were invested in the progress of the human race? Other ancestral narratives speak of our human origin in the same terms, but there are other strands to the story that we have yet to uncover. The notion of advanced beings visiting Earth and influencing human evolution is a common theme across many ancient myths and legends. From the Greek Babylonian narrative of Wana and the Apkallu to Native American memory reports, there are stories of visitors coming to help and educate our human ancestors. Zulu mythology also speaks of advanced beings nurturing the beginnings of the human society. But what was the true motivation behind the Anunnaki's influence on human development? Some researchers argue that the Anunnaki had a more generous motivation towards their human workforce. While there are certainly some cold agendas towards humanity that play out of our world stories of the beginnings, there is another agenda in the Anunnaki community. Enki, the leader of Earth Project and junior to Enlil, appears to be the more positive figure who wants to upgrade human beings for a more enjoyable, better and more conscious kind of life. However, Enlil, the CEO, does not want that, and so there is a conflict between Enlil and Enki over whatever that should happen. Humanity is caught in the crossfires of this conflict among a species that is ambivalent about the progress of human society. There is oppression and slavery in the Anunnaki narrative, but there is also concern for human welfare and nurturing of human beings, making it a mixed story. Moreover, a number of creation myths begin with the rehabilitation of a devastated and flooded planet shrouded in darkness, and the arrival of the Anunnaki is a positive interaction with the other species because they begin to nurture life on the planet. They nurture animal life and human life. When Enlil wants to destroy the human experiment by devastating the planet again, it's Enki who seeks out a favored family and gives them instruction on how to construct an escape pod to reboot the project. As we explore the stories of our human origins and the influence of the extraterrestrial beings, it becomes apparent that the narrative is complex and multifaceted. There is evidence of both negative and positive interactions with these advanced beings, leaving us with much to contemplate about our history and our place in the universe. The Anunnaki narrative has provided us with a fascinating insight into our species' past, and its relevance to our current situation cannot be ignored. With reports of ET contact, we have experiencing a similar range of agendas, some harmful, some indifferent, and some nurturing. The question remains, are these contemporary experiences connected with the Anunnaki narratives, or are we encountering something or someone different? Regardless of the answer, the Anunnaki narrative can offer value insight into our potential as human beings. Our ancestral narratives speak of higher consciousness being downgraded in our prehistoric past, which raises the possibility that our cognitive abilities can be upgraded and our consciousness heightened. Our mythologies speak of our perceptual field being limited, suggesting that we might be able to expand it. If we are indeed part earthling and part higher being, then what does that mean for our potential as human beings today? Are we bound to the legacy of our enslaved past, or are other ways open to us as human beings? Could higher forms of consciousness help us achieve a new freedom and provide a pathway to a better human experience? Many cultures that have curated these stories have also created modalities and methods designed to reawaken a higher state of consciousness. These practices can help us break down our programming and start working for one another instead of those above us. The Bible Decoded channel provides a platform for exploring these and other probing questions. Through in-depth analysis and discussion, we can get a deeper understanding of our origin, potential, and future. Stay tuned for a more thought-provoking content, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications when new videos are posted. Thank you for watching the Bible Decoded. See you guys.